Just as we lost faith in the 2020 F1 season, Monza delivered a cracking Grand Prix. Hello and welcome to the Pit Crew podcast. My name's Ed. This is my co-host Dylan.
Hello.
And earlier today was the Italian Grand Prix, the first of a couple Grand Prix in Italy at the Circuit de Monza. And what a race. It finished about 1.5 hours ago, 2 hours ago.
Yeah.
And if you don't know, Pierre Gasly in an Alpha Tauri, which is a car midfield car, performance package, probably about 6th, 7th best. So right in the middle of the pack, he won the race. A McLaren got second, and Lance Stroll in a Racing Point, which isn't so much of a surprise, got third. So it was Alpha Tauri, McLaren, Racing Point. Mercedes were nowhere with 5th and 7th. It was just an absolutely crazy Grand Prix, and the craziness kind of crept up on you, if you know what I mean, Dylan.
Yes, really expecting
it. You got okay. So there was. We'll give you a little bit of we'll give you a proper overview later in the podcast. But we had safety car 1 followed instantly by a second safety car, and then carnage ensued with a red flag
from Leclerc,
and then everything just went mad, and it resulted in a rather interesting finish. But first, as we always do in our race reports, we have to compare our predictions for qualifying and the race between what we actually thought, and what happened in real life. First up, qualifying. Now, for qualifying, I predicted Hamilton, Bottas, Verstappen as my top three, and the result was actually Hamilton and Bottas, Sainz. So that's actually quite good for me, 66.6 recurring percent. That wasn't a bad mark. Dylan got the
predicted
same.
the same.
He mispredicted the Mercedes one too, but Sainz, absolutely surprising everyone there with that P3, and McLaren had a surprising weekend, P2 and P4. And now on to our predictions for the race. I predicted Hamilton, Bottas, Ricciardo for the podium. I got nothing.
Bit too ambitious.
It was a crazy race. As I said, it was Gasly, Sainz, Stroll, and Dylan predicted, as you can see, Hamilton, Verstappen, Bottas, and he also got nothing. Verstappen retired, and the Mercedes were 5th and 7th. So, yeah, our predictions, as I thought when I was reading the kind of live news feed for the Grand Prix, they were just going further and further out the window between when every overtaking maneuver happened. But anyway, the start of the race was horrific for Bottas. Norris got past Bottas, and I think he ended lap 1 in somewhere in 6th. Yeah, he ended lap 1 in 6th from starting second, which is horrific. Red Bull had a pretty bad start. Albon had an incident with Gasly, which luckily, obviously, didn't cause any troubles for Gasly, and he went down into P15. And Max Verstappen had a really bad start as well. He didn't. I think he was somewhere in about P8. It wasn't a great start for the top teams, and also Kevin Magnussen, he picked up a bit of front wing damage and had to pit, but nobody really was paying much attention to that. But what people were paying attention to, and especially me as a McLaren fan, was a McLaren 2-3 by the end of the first lap. Hamilton was waltzing away, as we all expected, but the McLarens got a 2-3 with Lando Norris in P3 and Carlos Sainz in P2. It was a cracking start from those two. It was it would have been a good race, even with the start and everything just staying pretty quiet for the rest of it because of the McLarens, and it just that shook it up a little bit already. But it just kept on getting better and better. Daniel Ricciardo had a great start. I think he got P he got Bottas. He took P5 off Bottas when Bottas had already fallen down to P5 on lap 1, I think. Yeah, on the opening lap, and that was quite impressive too. But a really bad start from Bottas, which was quite surprising because Dylan, I think you agree that Bottas is generally quite consistent in
He's
his
usually pretty
start
good
quality.
at
It's usually
starts.
pretty
Yeah.
good. Most of the time, it's usually him who gets a better start than Lewis, and then he just hangs back anyway because I don't know why Mercedes have told him to. Um, Anyway, I think reasonably early on in the race, I think lap 7, lap 6 or 7, lap 6, lap 7. I'm doing a little bit of a rap there. Vettel had a brake
Brake
failure.
problem. Yeah.
His right rear brake disc was just caught fire. I think probably because Monza is quite straight, heavy straight, heavy braking zone. They just overheated and caught fire, and he just went straight on the at the first chicane, and he limped home and retired. I think he nearly I think was he behind Russell, or was he? They were fighting, and he nearly collided with Russell. Oh, and by the way, Williams getting P11 and P14 with Nicholas Latifi in
So close.
P11.
Again.
That was such a good race. And if you don't know, the owners of Williams, Claire Williams and Frank Williams, who is the father of Claire Williams, Frank Williams started the team a while ago. They
Years
sold the
ago.
team earlier this month. No, last month they announced that they'd sold the team, and they're both stepping down from their team principal roles this weekend. So I think that was a good a good send off for those two, P11 and P14. It wasn't the points. I would have liked to have seen the points for them, but I think that was good. And I don't know if you saw, but Claire Williams got a signed front wing from the whole team, and Williams are kind of making a thing of it. We might link something with a little timestamp note at the top of the screen, or we might put it on the screen now. But in the pre-race interviews in the back, Williams are making a thing of in the background doing something funny. They've had like dropping parcels on purpose, but this time they brought out a box. I was watching it live actually because I was hoping it would happen. Did you see it, Dylan?
No, I didn't
Have you
see it.
seen it?
I haven't
Haven't
seen
seen it. Basically, they brought out a box, and on the front, there was a label that said "Spare Pit Crew Man," and a guy got out and held up a cardboard sign saying "Thank you, Claire and Frank," which they're getting more creative with it, and I hope they continue doing it because it means that they got one extra view on that, because that was the only reason I tuned into those pre-race interviews on YouTube. But it was quite good to see. But Ferrari, we knew they were going to have a bad Grand Prix, didn't we, Dylan? But well, would you like to tell
Yeah.
everyone what happened?
With
They
Charles.
didn't get double points, and they certainly didn't get a double podium, did they? What did
No.
they get? They got
They
a double.
got double DNF.
Yeah, double DNF. Charles Leclerc,
Lost
later on in
in
the race,
Parabolica.
lost it in the Parabolica. Which, if you're wondering what the Parabolica is,
Last corner.
last corner. It's the bottom right of the track. It's got a yellow line down the middle, near DRS
I
detection
might put a
zone 2.
pointer.
Dylan, they can't see your pointer.
No, but we'll add it in editing.
Oh, we'll add a pointer in the edit. But it's a very long sweeping corner. He put the power down, lost it, and that resulted in a red flag. But Ferrari, ooh, I'm glad the Tifosi, who are which is the name for the Ferrari fans, weren't there, because they can be quite fierce, shall we say, when Ferrari don't do well. Is that the correct word, Dylan? Fierce.
Yeah, fierce.
Yeah, they get quite angry, shall we say, and I think maybe some of them might have turned off the TV when they saw that happen. But McLaren fans have been through that over the last couple of years. But the rest of the race, it kind of it just for the next couple of laps, the teens laps. I don't know if you called them the teens lap, but the lap 16, lap 15, all those sorts of laps. It was just kind of everyone was racing around, gains on other drivers there, here and there. A couple of people managing tires. Nothing much really happened. Interesting fact that I mentioned that the two McLarens were running in the top three, and the last time that happened was the 2014 British Grand Prix. So um, that shows um, how bad McLaren have been over the last couple of years. But this consistency in podiums is starting to pick up again. So hopefully we're going to get a bit more, a few more podiums from McLaren.
Back at the top.
But at in lap 19, Magnussen was driving very slowly. Kevin Magnussen, the Danish driver, he was driving very slowly, and he stopped out on track. I think he stopped very near the pit lane, and this caused safety car 1 of the race. And at this point, and this is a crucial point of the race, Hamilton and Antonio Giovinazzi, the Alfa Romeo driver, came into the pits. Now, Dylan, you know what happened. It was a crucial mistake, and did
Yeah.
you kind of follow the race along live-ish?
I did a bit, yes. I was
Yeah.
keeping down the leaderboard.
At this point, the McLarens didn't pit, and am I right in saying that Antonio and Lewis were the only ones to pit that lap?
Yes, because the
The
pit lane was
lane
closed.
was actually closed because I mentioned that Kevin Magnussen had stopped near the pit lane exit. So the FIA, the race directors, had decided it wasn't safe for cars to be in the pit lane. So that was why we were wondering, hang on, why aren't they all pitting? It's the perfect, just a couple laps before the pit window opens for the one-stop people, which pretty much everyone was on. I think everyone was on. And only 2 drivers pitted, and that's because everyone was worried that, they get a penalty for the pit lane being closed and using it, and how right they were, and how that turned the race.
Didn't
But
turn
after this,
out well.
it didn't turn out well for Hamilton. But then after this, we had a couple of laps under the safety car, and then safety car came in on lap 22, lap 22, and I think we had less than 2 laps under racing conditions before Leclerc crashes at the Parabolica, which we pointed out earlier. He had a massive crash. I don't know if there are videos on YouTube of it yet.
I think there will be.
There probably will be by the time this is
On the
uploaded.
F1 website, I think they showed it.
Yeah,
Or
actually,
BBC
yeah,
Sport.
there is one. We'll link in the top right-hand corner of the screen. If you click on the little eye up there,
Right now.
there will be a top right-hand corner. There will be a little eye. Click on that, and there will be a video of Leclerc's crash, which brought out the second safety car. And then after this, the session was stopped with a red flag. Red flags means that something's really dangerous, and because Leclerc crashed so badly, the barriers needed to be replaced. So every car went back to the pit lane, and this means that some people could change their tires, have a pit stop, and at this point, Hamilton got a 10-second stop and go penalty for entering the pit lane when it was closed, and this changed the race. He was leading, and even though his lead had been decreased because of everyone stopping in the pit lane, the race having to be restarted, this 10-second stop and go penalty was going to wound him, and it was going to cost him the race win because of what the situation with the red flag. But yeah, it just cost him the race win. And now everyone had changed their tires at this point in the race, and Hamilton, he knew he'd lost the race win. And at this point, Stroll was second. Everything got messed up here because people were pitting and not pitting, and pitting after the just after the and after the start, everyone was messed up due to who had pitted and not. And Lance Stroll was in second place, which meant first place really because of Lewis Hamilton's penalty. I feel I'm rambling on here, but basically, it resulted in chaos here, and the podium positions being not what you'd expect, and the result was a battling, but the end result was Gasly winning, Sainz second, and Stroll third, which was just incredible, really. And it was just really nice. At one point, the Alphas were running in P2 and P3 as well. It was just chaos, and Verstappen retired at this point in the race due to a power unit issue. But it was just chaos, and people were in the wrong positions or the wrong positions that you'd expect, and everyone was messed up, and it was brilliant to watch, wasn't it, Dylan?
Yeah, it was.
Just brilliant to see all this absolute chaos, and it resulted in that win. It was just it was a fantastic race, and usually we do our overall verdict for the race, but I don't think we
It was
even
too
need to
good.
say it. It was too good. I'm calling now it's going to be race of the season. In our final podcast for about the 2020 season, we're probably going to say what our favourite race of the season is, and I'm calling right now that is going to be my vote for favourite race of the season. Also, I think
Unless
Pierre
something
Gasly
else
should get
happens.
driver of the season. Um,
He
to
deserves it.
just Yeah, he deserves it. I mean, he's been doing well in that AlphaTauri. We mentioned it last week, but to have that win, I mean, that's incredible. Also, Carlos Sainz, one more lap, I think he would have got that win. Do you agree, Dylan?
He was close into turn one on the final lap. He was
Yeah,
pressurising him and nearly got him.
yeah,
But
um,
Gasly had a better exit.
yeah. It was a tense battle. There was about 1 second gap going into the final lap, but it would be interesting to see what happened with, I don't know, 3 or 4 more laps. That would have made it
Yeah.
even more tense. Anyway, what was your biggest disappointment of the race? Now, Dylan, I'm going to let you go first because it's an obvious one and you can steal it if you want.
The biggest disappointment was probably Max not finishing.
That's interesting. I
After
didn't even think
after
of
a
that. Yeah, the
reliability
Red Bull result
issues.
as well, because Alex Albon, what did he get? P P P P P
Uh,
P P P P
look at his
P.
arm
I'm doing a little
issues.
P rap. Alex Albon got P15, so P15 and a DNF for Red Bull.
Not good.
Ooh,
No
that's
points.
not good. That was pretty disappointing. The Ferraris at their home Grand Prix. We're going to be saying this next week as well because of its 1,000th Grand Prix at Mugello. That's a disappointment. The Williams just missing out on the points for their final
Again.
race under the under the ownership of or leadership of the family. That was a disappointment for me at least. But they still did well. But I'm going to go for the Williams not scoring points, coming so close. P11 and P14. What are you going to go for, Dylan?
Yeah, this Max not finishing.
Yep,
That's
interesting choice. Not what I would have thought of, but it still is
and
disappointing.
the
The Red
Red
Bull
Bulls,
result,
just the
especially
Red
Matt.
Bulls.
There's
Yeah.
just the Red Bulls overall. What was your biggest surprise of the race? I
Well,
don't really
that's
think I
easy.
even need to. I didn't even need to say what the biggest surprise of the race was. I think everything was a
Gasly.
surprise. The whole podium was a surprise.
The
The
whole
whole second
race.
half as a race. The first half of the race, it was just a normal race with quite a good quite a good normal race. I think we would have given it a good rating if it had just stayed normal without the first safety car and then everything got back to normal. I think we'd have said it was good, but I think the whole race I'm going to go for as biggest surprise. And then best moments.
It was an exciting one.
Can I say the whole second half of the Grand Prix?
Nah, you gotta pick
I
one.
know we're milking that we liked it. We got to pick one. Okay. McLaren running in the top three, a contender for me. Pierre Gasly, that final last lap battle.
Last battle,
That
yeah.
was.
That was
I'm
gonna
going
be
to
mine.
go McLaren running in the top three and getting a podium. And I think, Dylan, am I right in saying that you were going to go with that last lap battle
Yeah.
between Carlos Sainz when there was a
Very close.
second gap between second and first? Honestly, Mercedes, if you're listening, which we know you're not, if you are, please, at least, if you're going to win. But at least leave a 1 second gap between first and second when you're having
No.
a 1-2 on the final lap. Everyone would prefer it. Just saying. I know all the Mercedes fans wouldn't, and I know that's why Dylan said no.
Or
But
do
everyone else would.
a Ford 1966 finish across
Yeah,
the line
do,
at the
do all
same
of those
place.
and get Bottas to win for some weird reason. If you haven't seen Le
No.
Mans 96 film, it's a cracking film,
96, 66.
yeah, 66. Le Mans 66, great film, and in that you'll see. Also, you can Google it. You'll see why the driver who was winning actually didn't win. But we're not an endurance racing podcast. We're a Formula One podcast, and that was a brilliant race. As I said, one of my favourite moments was definitely that last lap battle. The first half of the race, good. Second half of the race, just mad. That red flag just resulted in everything. And the penalty and the red flag, with everyone having pitted on maybe just after the first safety car, because of the pit lane being closed and people wanting to pit on that first safety car, they pitted soon after, but some didn't and went slightly longer. So that resulted in some pitting under the red flag in the second safety car. And as I said, just carnage. It was a brilliant race. Also, before we start to round off, I'll put a picture on the screen. Lando Norris's helmet for this weekend. Have you seen it, Dylan?
Yes, I
It's a
have.
pizza-themed helmet. We'll put a picture of it on the screen. It's just so Lando Norris.
Beautiful.
He's such a interesting
Funny guy.
driver. He's such a funny guy, yeah, in the sport. But anyway, that brings us to the end of this week's episode of the Pit Crew podcast. We hope you've enjoyed listening to us talk about what a brilliant race it was. We hope you enjoyed either watching highlights, following along with it live, or watching it. It was a brilliant race. Next week is Mugello. I think it's called the Tuscany Grand Prix because they tried to give them different names. It's Ferrari's 1000th Grand Prix, and no doubt they'll have more pain and no gain at that Grand Prix. And I think that hopefully we get another exciting Grand Prix. We've never raced at Mugello, only tested a couple times, and I think hopefully we have another brilliant Grand Prix to talk about. There'll be I'm going to I might put a link in the comment of a couple of cool Claire Williams things because we're going to do it. Bye-bye, Williams family. Anyway, in the meantime, I've been Ed.
And I've been Dylan. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.